Okay? Anyway, precept of openness, flexible, adaptive, not fulfilling your obligations. 18, the precept of contentment, recognizing essential fullness and completeness. Nothing is missing. You know? Santosha, contentment. Santosha in Sanskrit, contentment. Nothing is missing. Everything's there all the time. But can we see that? If we're in essence, we can feel it. We can connect to that directly, even when everything seems to be taken away. 8 is gratitude. This is a massive one. We say you can't even escape the basic level of the whole path and get into the higher levels of the work until you have the 3 R's and a G, we call it. Respect, resourcefulness, responsibility, and gratitude. Until you have mastered respect, resourcefulness, responsibility, and gratitude, you're not even in the game spiritually. Respect for others and self at all times, for nature, your own being, your body, everything. Don't put crap in your body. It applies to everything. Resourcefulness. Do not run around saying the government has to give me money so I can survive, or pensions, or whatever you call this stuff, insurance payments, trust fund kids. You know. Responsibility. Take responsibility for every action, word, thought, deed in the past, now, and in the future. And above all, have gratitude for this precious human birth and the ability to play this beautiful life game. That's the basis for basic sanity. And if you have that, you can actually play spiritual game. If you don't have that, you need to shrink still. Take nothing for granted. See and experience the freshness in each moment. Gratitude for what is received is demonstrated by impeccable action, not by reciting, thank you, oh, so thank you very much. Americans are big on that one. Thank you, oh, thank you so much. Oh, you're so, you know, but gratitude is not that. Gratitude is what you live every moment, right? 2 to go, freedom, 20. Precept of freedom. This is based upon Svatantriya, the ultimate precept of Tantra, which says, if you had to boil the essence, Shiva, this Parashakti down to one thing, what is it if we had to put it in dualistic language? You'd say freedom with a capital F. Because the ultimate, if not anything else, must be free in every parameter. Free to recognize itself, free to produce a world and absorb a world, and you know, freedom, pure freedom. So how do we deal with this on a regular precept level of conduct so we can experience the fruit of this view? Discovering inherent freedom by using discipline and view to dissolve compulsion arising from false view. Whoa. So we're not free because we have conditioned compulsion. We get free through what sounds counterlogical. We get free through applying discipline. When I apply discipline and control my life, I get to know when spontaneous arising occurs. I'll know spontaneity only by discipline. Using the example of catch wrestling, we do the 1,000 throws. We learned yesterday a double wrist lock throw. You're going to do a double wrist lock throw 1,000 times. After you do it 1,000 times, when you're in a match and it comes up spontaneously, you'll know it was spontaneous. It wasn't contrived, simply flowing in the moment. But you won't know that until you do it 1,000,000 times. Or the person who cuts with a sword 1,000 cuts a morning. In this other tradition, we do 1,000 cuts every day. We do 1,000 cuts a day, and you do it for a year. That's about 365,000 cuts, yeah? One time you're going to go, oh my God, what was that? You know, it's like you're an observer. It's so amazing. One cut of those 365,000 maybe in that year came out of essence itself. So we know freedom through discipline as a beginner. Later it will be our natural state. Okay? Good? You can start with that sword right there. The precept of loyalty. Last one is precept of loyalty. Loyalty is complete dedication without judgment of the worthiness of the ideal or person dedicated to. This is massive. Loyalty is completely being dedicated without preference. I just say, Yamina, I'm going to be dedicated to you. I'm a samurai, right? You're my lordess. I'm dedicated to you. I don't care what else. That's it. I put my sword like this to you, and you hand the sword back to me, which means I'm loyal to you now. And I find my own essence through that loyalty, non-preferential. If you fart, I think of it as roses, you know? If you start an immoral war or something, I don't leave you. I don't decide. I'm done deciding. I've already dedicated. You see? This is loyalty. You start an immoral war, I still go to war for you. And someone can say to me, How can you fight for that person? Don't you know what they're doing is wrong? I say, yes, they're a very bad choice to have this war. Now, get your sword out. Still fight for that person. But how can you do it? Because I'm loyal. My loyalty supersedes any of this thinking stuff you're doing, because it comes from my essence. That's the essence of the samurai tradition of loyalty, which shows it maybe highest in the world, Guru Yoga and loyalty of the samurais. Samurais and Guru Yoga show loyalty probably more than any other tradition in the world. Loyalty is complete dedication without judgment of the worthiness of the ideal or person dedicated to. Loyalty is not modified with varying circumstances. Loyalty is not modified with varying circumstances. When Swamiji says something mean and angry to me or something, I don't modify my loyalty. This is what my students do. Oh, my students all around the world, I get letters and emails from them all the time. And it's really funny because they really want to have a dialogue where they have to process and talk about the things I said that didn't work for them. Whatever I said or did that didn't work for them. Why can't you just say it didn't work for me and keep the good stuff? Why you got to go like that? It's so weird. It's very strange. Not everything my teacher said to me was, causing rainbows to come out of my bum. You just take the good with the bad. Sometimes you're in a bad mood, Just tell you to dig another ditch. I don't say, what are we going to use it for, Swamiji? Sure we really need it? Just dig the ditch. Then later I don't go, I was abused. It was closing time and he made me dig another ditch. It was 3 more hours. Oh my God, I was abused by the teacher. He thought so mean to me. It's amazing. Yeah? Any questions? We finished right on time. That's great. Yeah.
Unless we are living in an unbroken state of awareness, spiritual experiences turn to memories and we conceptualize and often distort them. Can you offer advice on not conceptualizing and distorting spiritual experiences through mind and speech?
Yeah. It's pretty simple. That's the reason why we have this thing about not talking about spiritual experiences. I mean, you described, whoever's asking that question, you described it perfectly. What am I supposed to talk about with it?
Maybe they're asking how they can keep those experiences in their heart without putting an
without conceptualizing them.
Yeah.
Experience them not as incidents, in a sense that you have clear, objective parameters about what happened, how it happened. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. I fabricate my spiritual experiences all the time to myself. Everybody does. I go back and check my journal. Like, oh, it didn't happen that way? It was in Thailand. It was in Colorado? God, I thought it was Colorado. Oh, it was with those students? I thought it was... Yeah. It's so funny. So all I ever remember now, because I'm ancient and senile, is the essential experience, what it opened in me. The details are like... We have a friend who shall remain nameless, who's a major spiritual teacher in the Bay Area, who fabricates the story over maybe 5 times in the same week. And we used to all go, oh my God, he's telling it again another way. No, it's amazing. And he doesn't care. He lost millions of students over this. But it's because you forget and you refabricate. It's like trying to remember a dream. If you don't get that dream written down as soon as your eyes open, and even then it's going to be slightly off. 1 hour later, 2 hours later, 3 days later, a year later, forget it. Impossible. So the key is, what opening did it produce? Grasp the opening. Don't grasp the concept of the opening. The situation and circumstances that produced it, the experience, grasp with all your grasping power of the ego, of the self-image formaker, the opening itself. We do replace self-image formation as a mechanism that's going for smaller and more restricted self-image formations with grasping and self-forming an image around Dharma, because that one expands. And eventually we let go of the mechanism totally in that way. That limits us in any way. So I think that's the only way to say it. I think you understand correctly not to make stops out of steps by grasping onto spiritual experience, but how to keep it. You don't really need to keep it though. Like, even in the sense of reviewing that experience, you're going to conceptualize it. So just be happy that you had the experience, that it opened, and let it go. Because until those experiences of Shaktipata are flowing continuously, unbroken, we're not there. And grasping onto past ones is always going to limit us. Any other? Okay? Anyone in the room? Tapped out. Yes?
I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but I think a lot about being generous and being kind and having a loving attitude towards other people, but let's say you do 2 and it's hard to know what the boundary is, or like if it's coming from a real place, or like how to adequately respond to that feeling of like wanting to help somebody, even if
Yeah.
it's genuine.
Sometimes, her question is great. Sometimes the essential virtues within us, like being helpful, kind, are obscured or mixed with, either obscured in that moment completely or mixed with our karma that we have of our personality about being helpful and how that makes me good and how people will approve of me and so on. You could pick any of the virtues. They're intertwined or totally obscured at that moment. The virtue is totally obscured. That's a how question. That's a discrimination question. So no one can tell you how. You have to spend years and years cultivating more and more response to your natural appetites in all ways in life to start to know what is true and what is not true. It's just the way it goes. It takes time. You fall off the bike, you get up, dust yourself off, get back again. As a 2, in the Enneagram, if you think you do 2 in the Enneagram and helpful is a trap, then constantly look at it. Don't stop being helpful. Just look at it as it's occurring. Is it feeding my sense of self-image? That's it, right there. That's all you got to ask. Do I feel good about being helpful in an essential way, because that's part of the mandala and that's how I express when I'm enlightened? Or do I feel good about helping because people now look at me and say, she's so helpful. And I've got approval and some goody-goody feeling. You know, that's the feeling you want to develop, how to feel. And we do that for all the virtues that we have. Okay? Good. Going last, once, twice, spiritual gavel. Soul, enlightenment. Okay. That's our class for today. Enjoy. You may want to put some time into putting down lots of characteristics of the way enlightenment expresses through conduct on your column, like I used to do with this graph paper, 64 of them. You can have as many or a few as you want, and then do your little, every day you put a date up on this top part, and you just go down the column as a review before bed, and red or green. And this sounds really, really like parochial school or something, you know, like really, really simplistic. But I tell you, this is a very powerful process. Because what happens is as you review your day at night before you do your meditation to go to bed, you're reviewing your conduct, and it's sitting in there where you made errors in your awareness, where your awareness slipped away, or where you consciously chose to do something against the Dharma. And you go to sleep with that, and you're more aware of it the next day because of it. It invades your next day. And all day long, the sheet kind of goes in the back of your mind, you know, and it's fantastic. So it creates great awareness around dharmic conduct. So if you want some way to work with that, I highly recommend it. And then, of course, there's the Karma Dharma Sutra, which some of you guys knew how to make, and maybe we'll cover that in a future class or something, okay? All right, cheers.